The unwritten scars of glory. They speak of Asgard, do they not? Of golden halls and sun-drenched spires, of peace and prosperity, of a realm forged in light. They whisper tales of Odin, the All-Father, a benevolent king, a wise sovereign, who ended an age of chaos and ushered in an era of tranquil majesty. A pretty lie, isn't it? A gilded cage of history, meticulously constructed brick by gilded brick to bury the truth beneath the shining facade. Oh, I can feel the echoes of their fables, like a distant, irritating hum even now, as my touch reawakens the very stones of this palace, forcing them to remember what they were always meant to be. This throne, this hall, this entire realm, they were not built for whispers of peace. They were forged in a symphony of screams, tempered in the fires of 1,000 conquered worlds, and polished with the blood of the vanquished. And I, Hela, the goddess of death, was the conductor of that symphony, the wielder of those flames, the very essence of that blood-drenched polish. To stand here again, after millennia of imposed silence, to feel the weight of this crown settle upon my brow, not as a burden, but as a birthright, it is exhilarating, like a forgotten limb, severed and dormant, suddenly pulsing with raw, unrestrained life. My power, for so long shackled, confined to the desolate echoes of a forgotten dimension, now surges through every fiber of my being, vibrating through the very air of Asgard. It is a hunger, an ancient, insatiable craving for what is rightfully mine, and it resonates with the core of this realm. They speak of magic here, of the Bifrost's shimmer and the light of the stars. But I tell you, I times am the magic. I am the primordial force that binds all things to their inevitable end, and through that end orchestrates new beginnings. My essence is the cold embrace of the void, the sharpness of the blade that cleaves existence, the unyielding will of the universe itself. Feel it, Asgard. Feel your queen return, and with her, the true spirit that built you. Odin, my father, my king. He saw me as a weapon, pure and unadulterated. And he was right. I times was times his weapon, his finest, his most potent. We were a storm, he and I, a relentless tide of conquest that swept across the 9 realms and beyond. He rode Sleipnir, thunder and might in his gaze, but I was the shadow that swallowed the sun, the hunger that devoured the stars. My blade, my very touch, was the decree of death. Worlds trembled at our approach. Civilizations crumbled into dust, not because of his whispers, but because of my might. I carved an empire out of chaos, side by side with him, flesh of his flesh, fury of his fury. We were an unstoppable force, 2 halves of a singular, glorious ambition. The All-Father they speak of now? The benevolent old man with one eye and a gentle smile. That is a performance. A carefully crafted illusion designed to lull this realm into a stupor of manufactured contentment. He was a conqueror, a butcher, a god who built his golden city on mountains of skulls, and I was the one who piled them highest. Do you understand what it means to be the goddess of death? It is not merely a title, it is a state of being. It is the awareness of the fragile thread that binds life to form, and the knowledge of precisely how and when to sever it. It is the cold, exquisite precision of a sculptor, shaping the universe not from clay, but from the void itself. When I reach out, I feel the dying embers of distant suns, the final breath of ancient beasts, the quiet sigh of a soul departing its vessel. And I do not mourn. I observe. I embrace. For death is not an end, but merely a transition, a doorway. And I am the keymaster. My power is not drawn from some external source. It times is times me. It flows from within, a torrent of raw, unshaped existence, manifesting as whatever form I choose. Blades, spikes, tendrils of darkness, they are not conjured, they simply times are asterisk, extensions of my will, as natural as a breath. To wield such power is to carry the weight of all oblivion, to taste the bitter sweetness of finality, and to recognize the inherent order in destruction. It is a lonely existence, often. To be the unavoidable truth in a universe that clings so desperately to fleeting life. I remember those campaigns with a clarity that burns, sharper than any blade. The thrill of battle, the clash of steel, the desperate cries of those who stood against Asgard. I remember the look in their eyes as my blades descended, a mixture of terror and awe. I remember the feel of their essence draining, absorbed into the very fabric of my being, strengthening me, feeding my power. We were glorious, we were terrifying. We brought order through might, unity through subjugation. That was Asgard's way. That times is times Asgard's way. And then he changed. My father, he grew soft, complacent. He looked upon the empire we had carved, vast and formidable, and saw not a foundation for further expansion, but an altar upon which to sacrifice his ambition. He saw the piles of corpses, and felt not pride, but guilt. Guilt! The most corrosive of mortal emotions seeping into the heart of a god. He spoke of peace, of diplomacy, of benevolent guardianship. He began to hide the stains on his hands, to whitewash the history he and I had written in blood. He ordered the slaughter of our greatest armies, the very legions who had fought by my side, to bury the evidence of his own conquest. He wanted to forget who he was, and in doing so, he tried to erase me. He imprisoned me, for centuries, in a place beyond places, a void between worlds, where time held no meaning and silence was my only companion. He thought to contain me, to diminish me, to make the universe forget the goddess of death. Foolish. My power is not bound by such paltry constraints. Even in the deepest void, I existed. I thought. I remembered. I nurtured my rage like a precious jewel, honing it, sharpening it, until it became a focused, unwavering point of pure, incandescent fury. I saw his golden lies unraveling, piece by piece, as his peaceful Asgard grew weak, decadent, a shadow of its former glory. I watched as he raised his other children, Thor, the thunderous brute, and Loki, the silver-tongued trickster, and taught them tales of heroism and honor, tales that conveniently omitted my name, my contributions, my very existence. He tried to replace me. He tried to pretend I was never there. He thought he could outrun his own shadow. But one cannot outrun death, can one? It is the ultimate truth, the final reckoning, and now the truth has returned. His death was my liberation. A fitting irony, wouldn't you agree? The very act of his passing, the finality he so desperately tried to escape, was the key to my cage. And now I stand here in the heart of his delusion, and I find it lacking. This Asgard, soft and fragile, is not the Asgard I built. It is a withered husk, a testament to what happens when strength is abandoned for the illusion of peace. Its people, pampered and ignorant, have forgotten the taste of true conquest, the exhilaration of expansion, the undeniable right of the strong to rule. They have become comfortable. And comfort, I assure you, is the precursor to decay. My philosophy? It is simple. The universe is a grand eternal conflict. Life struggles against death, creation against destruction, order against chaos. And in this struggle, only the strong survive, only the dominant thrive. Asgard was meant to be the spearhead of that dominance, the ultimate power that brought its will to bear upon all lesser realms. Odin betrayed that purpose. He shackled our destiny, confined our boundless potential, and allowed us to stagnate. He believed in the illusion of choice, the delusion of moral high ground. I believe in the undeniable truth of power. What is right is what serves Asgard's supremacy. What is just is what expands our dominion. There is no higher law, no greater good than the ascendancy of our people, our culture, our strength. Those who stand against that truth are not merely obstacles, they are prey. They are fuel for our glory. And my reign will be different. It will be a return to fundamentals, to the raw, unfiltered truth of Asgard's identity. I will scour away the rust of complacency, chisel off the false idols of peace, and remind this realm of its true heritage. We will rise again, not as benevolent protectors, but as righteous conquerors. We will reclaim what was lost, and take what was never ours but should have been. The 9 realms will bow. The universe will tremble once more at the sight of Asgard's might. And I will lead them, not with platitudes and promises, but with steel and shadow, with the unyielding force of a goddess who understands that true power is never given. It is taken. It is earned through blood, sweat, and the absolute conviction in one's own undeniable right to rule. Do I have doubts? The only doubt I ever held was that Odin might truly succeed in destroying what made us great. That his sentimental weaknesses might infect this magnificent realm beyond repair. But even that doubt is fading, like a whisper in the wind. For I feel the ancient magic, the primordial essence of Asgard itself, stirring beneath my feet, responding to my presence, yearning for its true purpose to be rekindled. The Bifrost, for so long a bridge for idle tourists, will once again become a highway for armies. The Valkyries, those winged spirits of battle, will rise from their forgotten graves, eager to once again ferry the worthy fallen to Valhalla. And my armies, for so long imprisoned in the abyss, will answer my call, their loyalty unwavering, their hunger for conquest unquenched. They are the true children of Asgard, the forgotten legacy of our greatness. My pain, my imprisonment, it has not made me weak. It has purified me. It has refined my resolve. It has sharpened my focus to an exquisite point. What is a few thousand years in the void to an entity like me? A brief interlude. A moment of quiet reflection before the true work begins. I have had ample time to contemplate the foolishness of sentiment, the weakness of compassion, the ultimate futility of resistance against the inevitable. I have seen the grand tapestry of existence, and I understand my place within it. I am the necessary force, the cleansing fire, the hand that guides all things to their designated end, allowing new strength to emerge from the ashes of the old. There is no guilt in my heart, only purpose, no regret, only conviction. Look upon this throne, upon these halls. They are changing, are they not? The gold is giving way to the stark beauty of obsidian, the warmth replaced by a chilling grandeur. The very air pulses with a darker energy, a more potent truth. This is not destruction, this is renovation. This is Asgard shedding its skin of deceit and embracing its true, terrifying majesty. I am not a destroyer for destruction's sake. I am a rectifier. I am the one who brings balance, who restores the natural order that my father so foolishly disrupted. He sought to deny the very essence of his own empire, to disown the blood on his hands. But you cannot erase history, Odin. Not when I am here to remind them of every glorious, gruesome detail. So let them speak of their heroes, of their noble protectors, of their shining city. Let them cling to their comforting fables for a little while longer. The dawn is coming, and with it, the true night. For I am Hela, goddess of death. I am Asgard's past, its present, and its inevitable, glorious future. And no amount of golden lies can ever bury the truth of my reign. The universe will remember my name, the stench of ash and lies. They call this peace. This gilded cage of a city, shimmering in the false light of a stolen sun, reeking of forgotten histories and deliberate amnesia. I inhale deeply, and my senses, far keener than any mortal's, taste the metallic tang of dried blood that clings to the very air. Oh, a scent! Only times can truly perceive beneath the fragrant blossoms and polished stone. What a pretty lie my father spun. What a delicate tapestry of deceit he wove, covering the crimson stains of his ascension with threads of golden progress and silver diplomacy. He thought to bury the truth, to lock it away in the deepest dungeons of his memory, alongside his eldest, most inconvenient daughter. But truth, unlike me, cannot be imprisoned forever. It seeps into the foundations, cracks the plaster, whispers from the shadows of every pristine hall, in the silent screams of every trophy hidden away. And now that whisper is a roar, my roar. I am Hela, not merely a name but a force, the very marrow in the bones of this realm. The pulse of conquest that once beat fiercely within its heart, before it grew soft, before it grew complacent. I am the shadow that dances at the edge of every glory, the reminder of the true cost of their shining facade. You think you know Asgard? You think you know its history, whispered in hushed tones of valiant heroes and benevolent kings. You know only the comfortable fiction, the bedtime story spun to lull a sleeping empire into a false sense of security. You ask what it feels like to command death. It is not merely a tool, it is a symphony, a profound understanding of the universe's most fundamental truth. The sharp, exhilarating thrill of a blade coalescing from pure shadow, solidifying into bone-white steel in my grip, heavier than any forged metal, yet lighter than air. A testament to will, to purpose, to the inherent destructive and creative power that flows through all things. It is the raw, untamed energy of the void, channeled through a vessel designed for its magnificent fury. It hums, a low, resonant thrum that vibrates through every nerve, a constant reminder of my birthright. My power is not learned, it times is asterisk. It flows through the very fabric of my being, like blood through veins, electric, potent, absolute. When I breathe, sometimes I feel the distant tremor of worlds. When I command, reality's times shift asterisk, if only for a moment, to accommodate my will. It is the language of creation and unmaking, spoken with the conviction of eternity itself. To feel it surge, to summon weapons from thought, to unravel the essence of a living thing with a mere touch that is not a burden. It is liberation. It is the only true honesty in this universe, the only untainted truth in a cosmos choked with sentiment and illusion. My power is not chaos. It is time's order asterisk, the ultimate order, the final word. And Odin, my father, dared to call this destructive. He dared to preach about peace and wisdom after times had carved out his empire for him. I remember with chilling clarity the countless worlds we scorched, the civilizations we brought to their knees, the blood that stained both times our hands as we laid the foundation for this golden age. He pointed his finger. So righteous and condemning, as if times hadn't relished every single victory, every fallen foe, every world brought to its knees under the banner times planted together. He wore the crown I helped him earn, then spat upon the methods that forged it. He locked me away, banished me to the abyssal void, not because I was wrong, but because he was a coward, a hypocrite. He feared the truth of what he was, and what Asgard truly represented. He wanted to rebrand himself, to shed his warrior's skin and don the robes of a benevolent king. A pathetic masquerade. He thought that by burying me, he could bury the memory of his own ferocity, his own ambition, his own bloodlust. He thought to replace the ravenous wolf with a gentle, domesticated hound, forgetting that the hound's very existence depends on the wolf's conquests. Oh, the indignity! To walk through my father's vault, a place he called sacred, filled with relics and treasures. I saw them, you know, even from my distant prison, my senses reaching out across the void. The casket of ancient winters, a trophy from Jotunheim, its ice-cold touch, a memory of frost giants I personally broke, shattered, left screaming in their icy wastes. The eternal flame contained diminished from some long-dead realm whose people learned the meaning of terror at my time's hand as I burned their very Sunday. The orb of Agamotto seized from a mystic who thought he could defy a goddess, his arrogant claims dissolving into dust at my feet. Every single item, a testament to a campaign, a skirmish, a genocide that times orchestrated, asterisk I times fought, asterisk I times won. They are not curiosities. They are monuments to my reign, my might, the brutal symphony of conquest that forged Asgard's empire. And he hid them behind glass, like museum pieces, pretending they were mere curiosities, not the blood-soaked milestones of Asgard's rise. He curated his lie, polished it, until it shone with an artificial brilliance that blinded everyone to the grim reality. Everyone but me. He whitewashed his own history, painted over the magnificent savagery that made him great, and then dared to call times the villain. The audacity is almost amusing, if it weren't so deeply, profoundly infuriating. A millennium. Do you understand the sheer, crushing weight of such a silence? To exist, suspended, tethered, yet severed from the very source of your being, from the realm that times is times your essence. To feel the pulse of Asgard continue, warped and softened, without your rightful presence. It was not mere solitude. It was an active excision, a purposeful denial, an insult. I watched, or rather, felt, as he crafted his golden age, as he raised his 2 times younger times sons, showering them with accolades for mere childish skirmishes, while the architect of his empire withered in exile. The bitterness was a slow-burning fire, consuming me from the inside out, yet never quite extinguishing the core of my resolve. It honed me, it sharpened my conviction. Every century was a vow, every decade a promise. Asterisk, I will return, asterisk. And return I have. The price of that banishment, Odin, was not only my absence, but the steady decline of everything you pretended to hold dear.
You thought to silence the roar. You merely taught it patience.
You thought to dull the blade. You merely honed its edge in the darkness. You thought you were protecting your new delicate truth, but you were only delaying my inevitable reckoning. My brothers, such disappointments. Thor, a brawling oaf, strong but without true purpose, a hammer in search of a nail, wielded by his father's whims. He understands not the true weight of a crown, nor the cost of empire, nor the profound loneliness of absolute power. He sees only glory in battle, not the brutal necessity, the existential truth that underpins every victory. And Loki the trickster, whose cunning is wasted on petty deceptions and self-serving whims, a child playing with shadows when he could have commanded constellations. They were children playing dress-up in a realm they never truly understood. They saw the golden halls, heard the joyous songs, and believed it was all real, all earned through righteousness and virtue. They never felt the earth tremble under a marching army, never smelled the burning pyres of a conquered foe, never understood that peace is merely the interval times between times' wars. A fragile quiet that must be constantly defended and expanded through force. They are products of Odin's weakness, proof of his degeneration. They were molded to fit his lie, not to embrace Asgard's true destiny. They were handed a kingdom, while I times built, times won. Death is not an ending. It is merely a change of state, a necessary pruning, a release. To fear death is to fear the very essence of existence. For life cannot be without it, just as creation cannot be without destruction. I am the goddess of it, yes, but not a harbinger of malice. I am merely the inevitable, the inexorable force that clears the old to make way for the new, the weak to make way for the strong. I ensure the cycle, but my power, my times, true times power, is to wield it as a tool, not for mere extinction, but for restoration, to sweep away the feeble, the complacent, the weak, and make way for the strong, for growth, for evolution, for the assertion of the will of the mighty. Asgard grew vast and mighty, not by turning the other cheek, but by extending its hand, and then crushing those who dared to grasp it. That is the nature of power. It expands, it consumes, it asserts itself. To deny that is to deny the very sun its right to shine, the very ocean its right to carve the shore. It is the cold, hard logic of the universe, stripped bare of all the pleasant illusions. Look around you. This glorious city, it has grown soft, fattened on centuries of unearned peace, a peace bought with times my time's blood and times my time's conquests. Its warriors have become ceremonial guards, its kings mere diplomats. It has forgotten its hunger, its teeth. And when a wolf forgets it is a predator, it becomes prey. Asterisk, I times are merely reminding it of its true nature. I am scraping away the rot, burning off the decay, shattering the brittle facade of kindness and compromise. This is not destruction. It is a cleansing fire, a crucible. The only way to forge a new, stronger Asgard, one worthy of its heritage, is to melt down the old, tarnished one. To strip away the artifice, the pretense, the sentimental baubles, and reveal the pure, unyielding metal beneath. It will be painful, yes. Great change always is. But pain is a sensation, a lesson, a searing reminder that you are still alive, still capable of transformation. And Asgard, under my rule, will be very much alive. It will scream, yes, but those will be the birth pangs of its true, magnificent self. Do I feel regret? No. Regret is for the weak, for those who second-guess their convictions, for those who waver in their purpose. But there is a sorrow, a deep, cold, almost unbearable weight of disappointment. Not in myself, but in him, in Odin, in what times we times could have been, what times we times built together before he lost his nerve, before his ambition calcified into fear. I remember the thrill of those early conquests, the shared ambition, the gleam in his eye when we stood victorious over a fallen world, our hands still slick with the blood of their champions. We were a force, a storm. A father and daughter, united in purpose, carving out an empire from the cosmic dust. He times changed Asterisk. He betrayed times us, Asterisk. He betrayed the very essence of what made Asgard great. And that, more than any imprisonment, is the true tragedy. To have tasted such glory, such shared destiny only for it to be squandered on a lie. For him to trade the ferocity of a wolf for the meekness of a lamb. To banish me was to banish his own strength, to amputate the very limb that brought him victory. It was an act of profound self-deception, a denial of the very power that defined us both. No more. No more hiding. No more pretending. Asgard will remember what it truly is. It will feel the sting of its own power, unburdened by guilt, unhindered by false morality, unleashed upon a universe that has grown soft and vulnerable. The Nine Realms will learn once more to fear the Golden City, not admire its gilded facade. Its armies will march, not to defend, but to conquer. Its borders will expand, not shrink. And I, Hela, the rightful queen, the goddess of its true essence, will lead it. I will restore its former glory, not the hollow echo of a forgotten age, but a vibrant, brutal, magnificent empire, carved anew from the ashes of weakness, a testament to the absolute power that Asgard was always destined to wield. This star-dusted sphere, this gilded cage, will become the beating heart of an empire so vast, so undeniable, that the very fabric of reality will bend to its will. My armies, no longer bound by sentiment or the dictates of a weakened king, will be instruments of pure, unadulterated conquest, a wave of steel and shadow, reclaiming what was always ours. Every star, a jewel in Asgard's crown. Every civilization, a subject of my will. The universe will know our name again, not as a whisper of ancient history, but as a thunderous roar echoing through the stars. This is not a dream, it is destiny. My destiny. Asgard's destiny. The truth. Do you recoil? Does your feeble sense of morality shriek at the thought of such absolute truth? Good. That is the weakness I mean to purge. That is the illusion I mean to shatter. For too long, the universe has been lulled into complacency by my father's pretty lies, by his tales of valiant heroes and peaceful kings. But the universe is a brutal, unforgiving place, a crucible of power where only the strong truly endure. And only those who embrace its truth, who wield its might without hesitation, will survive. I am not evil. I am simply time's real asterisk. I am the mirror reflecting Asgard's true face. A face caked in the blood of its ancestors, gleaming with the ambition of its future. Look closely. Look at the true cost of their peace, the true source of their power, the inevitable price of their existence. And then tremble. For the old ways have returned, darker, stronger, and more absolute than you could possibly imagine. My reign begins now, and it will last for all eternity. The throne's true shadow. You thought me gone, didn't you? A forgotten whisper in the halls of a history so meticulously scrubbed clean it barely resembles the truth. You thought a gilded cage, a prison realm, woven from the very fabric of lies, could hold the inevitable. How quaint. How utterly, profoundly time's Asgardian asterisk. For eons I listened to the silence, to the muffled echoes of a universe that dared to move on without me. I felt the pulse of Asgard, A vibrant thrumming beat through the stone and soil, calling to its rightful queen. And now, I stand here, on the very precipice of what he tried to erase, the air thick with the dust of his shattered illusions, and I breathe again. All of this, it smells of homecoming. It smells of blood, of conquest, of the times, real times Asgard, finally unshackled from the suffocating lie of peace. I am Hela. Not just a name, not merely a title. I am the firstborn, the architect of forgotten monuments, the steel that forged this empire, the hand that stained countless worlds red for the glory that Odin now disavows. I am the consequence. The truth he buried alive, praying it would stay interred. But truth, my dear, has a way of clawing its way back to the surface, particularly when it's me. He called himself the All-Father, a benevolent king, a protector of the 9 realms. A shepherd. I call him a coward. A turncoat. A man who built his magnificent shining city on the backs of the fallen, then wept into his wine when the blood on his hands became too much to bear. Do you truly believe this shimmering palace, these gleaming spires, these tales of valiant heroes simply sprang from the ether? Do you think the peace he lauded was a natural state, rather than a forced cessation of the very violence that secured its foundations? I assure you it was not. It was the exhaustion of a conqueror, draped in the robes of a saint. Feel it. Can you feel the tremor in the ground beneath your feet? The very stone of Asgard hums with my presence. These blades, they are not merely steel summoned from the void. They are the concentrated essence of destruction, the sharpened edge of certainty, born from the very lifeblood of this realm, and fueled by my will. Every weapon that manifests, every spear, every sword, every shard of obsidian-sharp truth that springs from my being, it is a testament, a monument to every empire we crushed, every civilization we brought to its knees, every world we claimed in the name of Asgard. I feel the echoes of their final screams, the fear in their eyes, the shattering of their will, and it invigorates me. It makes me stronger, more focused. This is not some crude magic trick. This is communion. This is the very soil of Asgard rising to defend its true sovereign, to remember its forgotten purpose. When I call, the earth answers. When I demand, the very fabric of existence bends. This power, it is immense, intoxicating, and it is time's mine asterisk. It is what he feared. Not its destructive potential, no. He feared its time's honesty asterisk. He feared what it represented. The unvarnished, brutal truth of how his empire was truly built. We were inseparable, he and I. Father and daughter, united by a singular, unyielding vision of glory. We rode across the cosmos, a storm of iron and fury. Our banners held high, our names whispered in terrified reverence from the farthest reaches of the stars. He led, I executed. He planned, I conquered. There was no hesitation, no moral qualms then. Only the thrill of dominance, the satisfaction of seeing lesser worlds yield to the might of Asgard. We were magnificent, a force of nature. We cleared paths through the stars, paved them with the bones of our enemies, and from that desolation we built times this asterisk, not a paradise, but an empire. A testament to strength, to power, to the right of the mighty, to rule. The Rainbow Bridge, the Golden Palace, the vault filled with relics of subjugated peoples, every single marvel of this realm, every boast of Asgardian prowess has my handprint on it. My blood is in its foundations. My victories are etched into its very core. I remember the roar of the crowds then, not for their peace, but for their prowess in battle. They saw us as their vanguard, their spear tip, into the unknown, expanding their dominion, feeding their coffers. We were their time's glory. But then it changed. The blood became too much for him, it seems. The weight of his own conquests grew heavy upon his conscience. He started talking of peace, of alliances, of safeguarding the very worlds we had once plundered. He wanted to be a benevolent king, a wise ruler, shedding the mantle of the conqueror. And in doing so, he tried to shed time's me asterisk. He saw me as a relic of a past he wished to forget, a constant, living reminder of the atrocities he himself had commanded. How convenient, To use a weapon until it has served its purpose, then cast it aside, not for its danger, but for the truth it embodies. He called it too much, uncontrolled, a threat to the peace. But I was merely a reflection, a perfect, unblemished mirror, reflecting his own ambition, his own ruthlessness back at him. My power, my ferocity, was merely the distilled essence of his time's original vision. To turn his back on me was to turn his back on himself, to betray the very essence of what he claimed to be. And so, the greatest betrayal. He didn't merely defeat me in battle. Oh, how I would have relished that. A warrior's death, a glorious end befitting a goddess. No. He chose incarceration. He chose to imprison me not in some grand dungeon, but in a dimension outside time, a limbo of forgotten things where my existence would simply fade. He locked me away and rewrote the entire history of Asgard. He spun tales of peace, of benevolence, of a golden age that never truly was. He taught his sons to be heroes of light, shielding them from the darkness that birthed their very home. Thor, my dear misguided brother, worshipping a father who was nothing more than a glorified liar. A sentimental fool, believing in a peace that was nothing more than the exhaustion of a conqueror, too weary to continue the fight he started. Odin replaced the monuments to our shared triumphs with statues of his benevolent rule, and he purged my name from every scroll, every song, every memory. He wanted me to cease to be, not just in body, but in the collective consciousness of Asgard. He wanted to unmake times me. As if I were a bad dream he could simply banish with enough self-deception. Eons. Think of it. Eons spent in the void, a prisoner of his cowardice, a forgotten goddess, while Asgard basked in a fabricated glory. But even in the deepest darkness, I felt the tremors. I felt the pulse of the realm, its yearning for its true purpose. I nourished my rage, let it grow, a blazing inferno that no prison could extinguish. What did I learn in that endless night? Patience. The relentless, grinding certainty that all things end and all truths eventually surface. I learned that fear is the strongest motivator. Odin feared me, yes, but he feared the truth of his own past more. He feared what the universe would see if his carefully constructed facade crumbled. And that fear, that weakness, was his undoing. It was the crack in his golden armor, the one I have now exploited. His death was my liberation. His last breath was the key to my cage. A fitting end for a king who built an empire on blood and then pretended it was built on starlight. And now, here I am. Look around you. These are not my enemies. These are not even really Asgardians. They are merely the inheritors of a lie. Complacent, soft, lulled into a false sense of security by a history they never questioned. They look at me with fear, with confusion. They whisper, "Goddess of Death," as if it's an insult, a curse. But death is not a curse. It is the fundamental law of the universe. It is the ultimate truth, the inevitable end that makes all life precious, all conquest meaningful. Without death, there is no consequence. Without consequence, there is no glory. I do not bring death out of malice. I bring it out of necessity. It is the cleansing fire, the necessary pruning of the rotten branches so that the true tree may flourish. Asgard has grown decadent, complacent, and weak. It has forgotten its roots. It has forgotten the taste of conquest, the roar of battle, the thrill of dominion. It has forgotten times me asterisk. My actions are not acts of vengeance, though vengeance is a sweet, tantalizing whisper in my ear. No, this is restoration. This is an act of love, in its own twisted way. A love for the Asgard that once was. The Asgard that truly earned its place at the heart of the Nine Realms, through sheer, unadulterated power. I am clearing away the clutter, dismantling the monuments to his false peace, tearing down the flimsy pretense of benevolence. I am reminding Asgard of its true nature. We are conquerors. We are gods of war and dominion. This realm was not built to be a gleaming beacon of hope. It was built to be a fortress of unparalleled might, a launching pad for further conquest, a declaration of supreme power. And I am simply returning it to its intended purpose. Every one of these soft, squishy Asgardians who cowers before me, who looks at me with horror, they are merely the consequence of Odin's weakness, the fruits of his poisoned harvest. They are unworthy. Unworthy of this legacy, unworthy of this power, unworthy of this realm. They have forgotten how to be gods. My philosophy? Simple. Power. Unapologetic, unyielding power. It is the only true currency in the cosmos. Love is a fleeting sentiment, a warm current that can quickly turn cold. Peace is a temporary illusion, a breath held between wars. But power endures. Power dictates. Power times creates asterisk. It creates empires, it carves destinies, it bends worlds to its will. And the only way to retain power is to wield it, constantly, ruthlessly, without apology. Odin lost sight of that. He mistook strength for brutality and tried to mask it with sentimentality. He tried to become something he was not, and in doing so, he weakened us all. He made Asgard vulnerable. He made it ripe for the taking, not just by external threats, but by the rot from within, the decay of its own forgotten identity. His legacy is a tapestry woven with lies, and I am here to unravel every thread. Do I feel doubt? Pain? There's a curious question, isn't it? A human question. Do stones feel doubt as they crumble? Do oceans feel pain as they crash against the shore? I am Hela. I am a force of nature. But yes, there was a time, perhaps, when I saw the world through eyes less jaded, when I believed in his vision, in our time's vision, without questioning the cost. There was a bond, a shared ambition, a fierce, undeniable loyalty to the one who was both my father and my king. And to have that ripped away not by defeat, but by a craven act of erasure, that wound, it festered, it hardened me, yes. But it also hollowed out a space where trust once resided, leaving only the cold, sharp edge of conviction. I regret that loss, that singular connection. I regret the ideal of a shared reign that was never allowed to fully bloom. But I do not regret the path I walk now, for the pain merely clarified my purpose. It sharpened my resolve. It showed me the ultimate truth, that even the bonds of family are secondary to the grander imperative of power, of destiny, of the raw, unvarnished truth. The only thing worse than a conqueror is a hypocrite. And Odin, my father, was the greatest hypocrite of them all. He loved the idea of peace more than the truth of his own making. My vision for Asgard is not one of endless, pointless slaughter. It is one of rightful dominion, of an empire that stands tall and proud, unashamed of its history, unafraid of its future. An Asgard that is a true power, a force to be reckoned with, not a retreat for weary gods and their pampered subjects. We will reclaim our place at the apex of the cosmos. We will rebuild on a foundation of honest strength, not on the shifting sands of his convenient fictions. The universe will learn our name again, not as a whisper of a distant, benevolent memory, but as a thunderous roar, a declaration of intent. It will see Asgard for what it truly is, a realm of gods who demand respect, who take what is theirs, and who are unafraid to spill blood to preserve their glory. We will cleanse the weakness, purge the pretense, and rise from these ruins as the true, formidable force we were always meant to be. And you, who listen to this, who scrutinize my words, who dare to judge the actions of a goddess, you seek to understand, perhaps to empathize. Do not. I do not ask for your pity, nor your approval. I offer you a window into the mind of a queen who has been scorned, erased, and then returned, more formidable than ever, to reclaim her birthright. I am here to remind the universe that every story has an ending, and every ending gives way to a new beginning. My beginning. Odin's reign was a chapter, a misguided, sentimental chapter, but a chapter nonetheless. And now the true saga begins. The saga written in the crimson ink of honest power, of undeniable might, of absolute dominion. He thought to make me a footnote, but I am the entire damn epic. The future, the past, the very pulse of eternity, it all flows through me. My journey through time, through imprisonment, through the very fabric of forgotten existence, has taught me this: the universe abhors a vacuum. And Odin left a grand, gaping void, a space where true power should have been. Now, I fill it. I embody it. I times it. The era of the benevolent lie is over. The era of the glorious truth has begun. Let the cosmos tremble. Let the stars watch. Let them all remember the name Hela. For I am not merely the goddess of death. I am the goddess of time's truth, asterisk, the end of all things, and the beginning of Asgard's true, undeniable destiny. This throne, this realm, this universe, it is mine. Every empire, every life, every time's story asterisk, it ends with me. And I am only just getting started.